Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Hayflicker, and this is my Module 15 case study over Truman Elementary. Some things that we know to start off with is that the PTO is not thrilled with our school's reading instruction and the results on reading assessments. This was made known to the principal by a letter. The school's assessment shows that reading scores are lower than those in math. There's a grant that is available for those who exhibit a great need in the area of reading. And the reading supervisor did find that teachers are using the approved curriculum, but it is not aligned with recent research. So they're doing what they're supposed to do, but it's not technically aligned with current research, or it's not up to date, basically. The reading supervisor also found that there's very little individualized instruction. It's a lot of whole group instruction, which is also not necessarily aligned with recent research. Some things that I need to know are what is the best current research-based strategy. So what would we be looking at? What's the difference between what we're doing now and what is the current best research-based strategy? Also, once I know those strategies, how do I get those strategies in the hands of the teachers? Is there a program? Is it through professional development? What is going to be the best way to get that knowledge to the teachers? Also, how do teachers feel about our current reading instruction practices? I've heard from the reading supervisor, and I've also heard from the PTO that they're not thrilled, but what is the teacher's actual feeling on this situation? So we know some things, and so we have a problem. Reading instruction strategies obviously need to be improved, and therefore those instructional strategies being improved should help our test scores. We obviously know that the PTO is not pleased, so that's an issue that as an administrator I'll need to take care of. And also, if the current curriculum is not aligned with research-based practices, what curriculum do we need to be looking at? So that's another problem, is that our curriculum must not be up to date. So a plan of action. I'm going to start up here. So do the teachers agree that there is a need for change in the instruction? I'm going to go straight to my teachers first, going to figure out what their feelings on it. If they are saying, yeah, we need some help, we need some reading instruction, if they're on board with that, then we can begin our staff development plan right away. Now, if they're not, we need to kind of convince them, show them why I'm looking at this. So we could present some points from the reading supervisor. We could also present some assessment data, different things like that. If they receive this well, then I'm ready to begin my staff development plan at this point. If they don't receive this well, we still need to begin making progress, and so we're going to begin, but it's something for me to remember and to consider in the background as well, that I don't have support, and I'm going to be needing to work to get my teachers on board with this and be looking for different ways to get them on board with this development plan. So as we start the staff development plan, basically, first we need to figure out our goals for instruction. So what do we need to do to improve our reading instruction, therefore improve our reading test scores? What is needed? What are we looking at as a long-term goal? So really, it's going to take a lot of conversation, really sitting down with me and the teachers and really discussing what our vision is, what we're looking for. So once we've got those goals figured out, we're going to look for curriculum. We're going to look for professional development options pertaining to this new vision that we've set. Once we have a vision, then we can find that's our final product. So then we can find the stepping stones that will get us to that final vision. Once we have a vision, then I can fill out some paperwork for the grant that is available. I want to have an idea, that way I can present that in the grant before filling out the paperwork. So while we're waiting to hear back from the grant after it's been presented, I will also be in contact with the PTO. This probably will have been done in the process, letting them know that, hey, I'm discussing this with our teachers, we're getting started on it, we're working for a plan, and I also need them to understand that this is going to be a process, that it's not something that's going to happen overnight, but yes, I've heard their concern, and yes, I'm working to help them, and I'm working to solve this problem, but I need some time to work through it in the best possible way as well. Also, while we're waiting to hear back, we can still be in a continuous discussion with the staff, because the answers are not going to be found overnight. So we can improve our instruction practices before we even have the opportunity for professional development. Our reading supervisor will obviously be a great support system for us. And there are various free internet sources and different things that we can use. We can use the technology that we have available to better our knowledge as well. So we can already be working together, planning these things, even if we don't have the money yet. And we can even be looking at what direction we want to go with our new curriculum and how these changes will hopefully better our school. Finally, hopefully the grant will be approved. And at that opportunity, at the time that is approved, that maybe we have a chance to look into new curriculums or look into adding to our curriculum, and also what professional development that could hopefully pay for as well. Everyone in this process needs to remember that it's going to be an ongoing process, and we'll need to continually look at our goals and reevaluate and continue with professional development. This is not something that's going to be solved overnight. And so we really need to have a projection so people can understand and see that these are our short-term goals that we're working up to, eventually working into this long-term goal. Some strategies for implementation is obviously open communication. That's going to be so important. It's not going to be a simple task because I know that I'm not going to get all teachers on board, and I'm not going to get the PTO to completely understand. So it's going to kind of be a juggling act between the two. Hopefully get that parent support and really get them to understand that I'm working hard for them, and we have the same purpose, the same vision, is that we want our students to succeed. And so it will be a continued effort for us to really work together and continue towards this process, towards the same vision. What is best for students? That is hopefully what both teachers and parents are really looking for. And obviously student learning is the most important. We need students to be given the best opportunity possible, and we want them to succeed once they're outside of our building. So we need to give them the tools that they will need for that. It's also going to be best that their parents and their teachers are getting along. So that will be my job, is to really work as the buffer between the two and hopefully get them to understand each other and really figure out that we're trying to work together, and that's going to be what's best for our kids rather than arguing and fighting with each other. A resolution would be, obviously the reading supervisor's foundings find that our Basel reading series was lacking certain instructional pieces. So whether that means that we need a completely new series or whether that means that we need to add to our reading series. I know we found in my own school that we had a Basel reading series, and that was fantastic for certain reading concepts, but it wasn't teaching students specifically how to read or other concepts. So we've had to pull in other resources as well to supplement on top of that series. So that could also be a possibility for us. The reading supervisor also found that the instruction was not aligned with recent research. So whether parts of it were or just none of it was, that's really something that we're going to look into, but it really comes down to a lot of those reading supervisors' notations that she made in her letter as well. Some thoughts and feelings. Like I said, my school is going through a similar situation, and there's definitely been some tension among teachers with how that's handled. And so I think as an administrator, I need to realize that I'm not going to make everybody happy, but also I kind of need to be the one to take the brunt of things and to really work to release the tension as much as possible and go about things in a way that's not going to be blatantly upsetting everybody, but also getting the answer what is best for the kids. I value the job of the administrator because there are a lot of different opinions and values that you have to respect in a school setting, and so it can be very difficult to juggle all of those things as well. Some unresolved issues. Basically, obviously, whether your teachers are going to be on board, whether they're going to go with this, you're going to need buy-in from your teachers. So how to get that buy-in. Another issue is what if we don't get the funds for the grant money? Whether there would be room in the budget for a new curriculum, whether that's even possible, whether there are other grants that we could possibly apply for. That's something that we'll have to look into. I also worry that the PTO might not understand that this change can't happen overnight, and it will be a process. So really getting them to understand. I realize that could be difficult for a parent of, say, a fourth grader when you're saying, no, my kid is struggling now. And yes, they're going to get what they need, and we're going to be getting them better practices, and I understand that, but our test scores may not show right away that this is that we are actually improving. It's a long-term process, and we're going to have to look at test scores over time to see if we are really reaching the vision that we're hoping to. Some ways is to have the improvement of engaging the families in the community is that I obviously, by going to the PTO and allowing for their voices to be heard in the community, and hopefully they feel that their opinions are respected, and that I also went to bat for them and worked to help them out. So that is hopefully helpful that they saw that and they realized that, and I'll continue to be in constant communication with them throughout this whole process. And also just really working on making sure the relationship between the teachers and the families are fine. The case study didn't say anything specifically about the relationship not being a bad situation, but I just know as a teacher, if you had a lot of parents saying, well, you're not doing your job, that would be difficult. So hoping to work together and kind of improve that relationship as well. How is data used in communicating? Obviously, multiple forms, assessment data. I used the outside resources of the reading supervisor, and then I also allowed staff to come to their own conclusion and come up with some instructional strategies and help with the process as well. Some knowledge of policies and rules, obviously using the grant proposal and working to not use a large portion of our budget, and also being in constant contact with the school board. So not just the PTO will I need to be in contact with, I'll also need to be in contact with the school board because they'll need to be updated on these new events and what is happening. We will also need committee support because in our school, at least, we have a curriculum committee that must approve all new curriculum. So those are some policies and some rules that obviously are going to be followed in this process as well. Ongoing dialogue is constant communication with the PTO, constant communication with the school board, working together with our teachers, meeting on a frequent basis to see whether we're meeting our goals, how we're progressing towards our goals, do our goals need to be adjusted. So it's going to be a constant conversation, and these meetings need to be planned and set up ahead of time so we don't just get in the rush of things and it slips our mind again. And the last page that I have here are just the standards that I simply used. So thank you for listening. Have a good day.